With the release of Elestral's newest set, Moonrise, Wind has finally gotten some tools that I believe make it very competitively viable. So today we'll be taking a look at Wind Toolbox. To start off the deck, the only Elestral that we're playing 3 copies of is Aster Rabbit. With its big butt and its fantastic ability to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and pick the most advantageous one, Aster Rabbit is an auto-include in pretty much every deck, even still to this day. Our next Elestral is the only other Elestral that we'll be playing more than 1 copy of, and that is 2 copies of Nemisail. Nemisail is a 3/1 that says when it receives a Wind Spirit, you can heal up to 2 Wind Spirits. The fact that this deck is very expensive means that we have to have the ability to heal, so that's why Nemisail is the only card in this deck with 2 of rather than 1 of, other than Aster Rabbit. Our next Elestral will easily show you how expensive this deck is with 1 copy of Hydrake. Hydrake is a 4/1 that says when it's destroyed in battle, you can special cast a Twindra from your hand or deck in attack position. Now, of course, we're playing 1 copy of Twindra also. Twindra's a 2-cost 5/4 that says when this Twindra is destroyed in battle, you can special cast Pantera from your hand or deck in attack position. So to go with this, we'll also be playing Pantera. This is the big boss monster of this deck. Well, at least one of them. Pantera is a 15/8 3-cost Wind Elestral that says when this Pantera is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special cast any number of Hydrake and Twindra from your hand or deck in attack position. A majority of the time we will be misenchanting this Pantera to play around Tsunami. However, the fact in order to get him out we have to pay at least 5 Wind Spirits is extremely expensive, but it is a very good payoff if you can get it off. Currently, back row in this game is still very strong, so in order to help us get around that, we'll be playing 1 copy of Pegas. Pegas is a 2/3 Wind Elestral that says when this Pegas receives 1 or more Wind Spirit, you can target and destroy a rune. Due to the fact that Hurricane exists, a lot of people are simply setting 1 because they don't want to have their entire back row blown up. Pegas will make it so that way you can easily destroy that 1 set back row. And if they choose to set more than 1, our next Elestral will help us out with that, with 1 copy of Aviolith. Aviolith is a 4/6 2-drop Wind Elestral that says this Aviolith can be normal cast with 2 Wind Spirits if an opponent has at least 2 face-down runes. When you cast this Aviolith, you can draw a card for each face-down rune an opponent has on the field. So set this thing in defense position, draw 2, and then pass and ascend over it next turn into your Pantera, and Aviolith is an extremely strong card for this deck right now. Now, while a lot of people are trying to figure out the new meta, there's still a decent chunk of people playing 5s types decks, so in order to help us out with that, we'll be playing 1 copy of Galaxair. Galaxair is a 3/4 Wind Elestral that says you can target an Elestral and swap its attack and defense until the end phase. This card is extremely versatile due to the fact that you can swap any Elestral, not only your opponent's, but you can also swap your own. Swap a defense position Aster Rabbit and attack over it. If somebody PTAs your Galaxair, you can swap its own stat line to play around that, or you can swap your own Aster Rabbit and turn it into a 5-attack beat stick. Either way, this card is a great include. Now, for pretty much the same reason, we'll be playing 1 copy of Sorlet. Sorlet's a little bit less versatile than Galaxair, but we're playing 1 copy of Sorlet over 2 copies of Galaxair for one reason. It has the number 5. That's it. Sometimes you just need that extra stat to get over Elestrals, and Sorlet provides that, so being able to easily search that is great for this deck rather than playing the 2 Galaxairs and forcing yourself to not be able to get over it. To ensure that we can finish off our opponent, we'll be playing 1 copy of Toxiswarm. Toxiswarm says when it receives 1 or more Wind Spirits, your opponent must expend 1. So just playing this down will almost always count as a 2-for-1 due to the fact that they'll have to burn themselves and then play a minimum of 1 to take care of this. However, with our next card, it also gets even stronger with one copy of Exaltair. Exaltair is a 3/2 wind celestial that says you can nexus up to 2 wind spirits. When you do, an opponent must expend 2. So you can either burn for 2, or if you're nexusing to a Toxiswarm, you can possibly even burn for 3 with this combo. Extremely strong for being able to finish off opponents. In order for this deck to not just survive but thrive, we have to find our Divine Runes. So in order to consistently do that, we'll be playing one copy of Elechick. Elechick is a 4/1 Thunder Celestial that says when you normal cast this Elechick, you can search your deck for a Divine Rune and add it to your hand. This card is so strong that it's limited to 1, because if you pair it with Zeus, it equals a 7 attack 1-drop Elestral. That's extremely strong on its own, but pair it in this deck and it allows us to essentially find any other Elestral in our entire deck. Now, if you remember towards the beginning of the video, I said we weren't just playing one big boss monster, but we're actively playing 2. And in order to help us get out to our second one, we'll be playing one copy of Gryffuse. Gryffuse is a 5/3 Thunder and Wind Celestial that says you can nexus either Thunder or Wind from a Divine Rune. When you do, you can special ascend this Gryffuse to Voltempest from your hand or deck. Now, we're going to be playing multiple Divine Runes, and you can easily nexus a lot in Wind, so Gryffuse is easily going to be able to get off its effect without a hitch. Now, obviously, since we're playing Gryffuse, we'll also be playing one copy of Voltempest. Voltempest is a 13/10 Thunder and Wind Celestial that says you can disenchant 1 Thunder or 1 Wind from this Voltempest in order to force an opponent to expend 3. While Zeus is enchanted, this Voltempest cannot be targeted by card effects. Voltempest is a great finisher because you can easily just sit there as long as you have Zeus on the board, re-enchant him every single turn, and then just disenchant and force your opponent to burn 3 turn after turn without even have to worry about anything. To pair with our Voltempest, we'll be playing 2 copies of Zeus. Zeus is literally the best Divine Rune in the entire game, allowing a lot of our small Elestrals to be able to walk over other Elestrals in combat. Not only that, but as long as we have Zeus down, our Voltempest can't be touched. So we're obviously going to be playing multiple copies of Zeus to ensure that our Voltempest is untouchable when we play it. Now, this wouldn't be much of a Toolbox deck without the ability to Toolbox, so we'll be playing 2 copies of Aeolus. Aeolus says when you cast this Aeolus, you can enchant up to 4 Wind Spirits to it. You can disenchant up to 2 Wind Spirits to search your deck for an Elestral with enchantment cost of 1 Wind Spirit and add it to your hand. This is the reason why we're capable of getting away with just playing a bunch of 1-ofs. Because we're playing multiple copies of it essentially by playing our Aeolus. Since our Divine Runes are so critical to our success in this deck, we want to keep them alive and functioning as much as possible. And in order to help us do that, we'll be playing 2 copies of Divine Healing. Divine Healing says you can enchant up to 3 spirits from your underworld to a Divine Rune on your field. You can utilize this in multiple ways. First way is simply just a heal for 3 that you can use to play your counter runes and invoke runes. If you don't have the extra spirits for your Earthquake, simply play this, put the spirits on your Divine, and then cast the Earthquake off of that. Or the second way is easily just to keep your Zeus and your Aeolus to continuously be able to utilize their abilities. Divine Healing is extremely strong in this deck due to the fact that we have such a heavy reliance on our Divine Runes. Now, like I just stated, our Divine Runes are extremely critical to the success of our deck, so we don't want them just getting blown up by a thunderstorm or a hurricane. So in order to prevent that, we'll be playing 1 copy of Divine Blessing. Divine Blessing says you can disenchant 1 spirit from your field in order to negate an invoke rune. Extremely strong for not only just those purposes, but you can also negate an Ambrosia to prevent healing, and there's other invoke runes such as Earthquake, Resting on Your Laurels, and Cryoblast that this also can negate. Divine Blessing is a card that I would purchase immediately if you don't have because they will be going up in price very soon. I can tell you that right now. Next, we'll be playing one copy of Earthquake, because it's unconditional removal, and as long as I have the Spirit Room, I always throw it in here because unconditional removal is extremely prevalent in every single card game that it's played in. Now we have some pretty big guys that we're playing that we don't want to just get shielded back to hand or PTA'd straight to death. So in order to help us out with that, we'll be playing one copy of Hurricane. If they set 1, we've got P-Gust. If they set 2, we've got Aviolus. If they set 3, we'll destroy their soul with Hurricane. No matter what way they want to go with their runes, we're always going to end up on top, which is part of why that I think this deck is extremely strong. Our final invoke rune will be 3 copies of Ambrosia. As I stated earlier in the deck intro, this deck is extremely expensive, so we need as much heals as we can have. So we've got the 2 Nemi Sail, the 2 Divine Healing, and now we have 3 Ambrosia for a total of 7 heals in order to compensate for how spirit heavy this deck is. Now for the counter runes, we'll be running 3 copies of Gorgon's Gaze to say no to literally anything that an opposing Elestral might want to do. We'll be running 3 copies of Poison Tipped Arrow for its -2 attack to possibly save some of our Elestrals, and for the hard removal factor. Plus nowadays with the existence of Farrageist, if you're not playing Poison Tipped Arrow as a 3-of, you might as well just scoop game 1 right away to them. Because there is nothing that you can do the second that they get it out unless you happen to have an Earthquake. That's literally pretty much it. So 3-of PTA is always an include in my opinion in this meta. We'll be playing 3 copies of Altar of Stars because this card is extremely versatile. Not only that, we have 4 separate receive Elestrals, so we really want to have the ability to constantly activate those effects, and Altar of Stars fits that perfectly. And we'll be playing 2 copies of Shield of Achilles to bounce back any threatening Elestrals that aren't named Pharaohgeist back to our opponent's hand. Now moving on to the cleanest spirit deck that I have ever made, we've got 2 copies of Teratlus for our Earthquake, 2 copies of Leviathan for our Hurricane cast, and a Misenchant of Pentair. We've got 6 Zaptor for the Thunder portion of our deck, and then 10 Lycoris for the other wind half of our deck. What do you guys think of the deck? Is it something that you would play? Let me know down in the comments below, and if there's anything that you want to see me build, let me know. If you enjoy content like this, be sure to like and subscribe as I do post content like this daily. I hope you all have a good day and peace.